What is up, everybody? Welcome back to 9 to 5 Gamers. Today is Top 10 Tuesday, so we got another Top 10 list, and this is going to be games that get a 9 out of 10, an almost perfect score. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. But just before we do that, just want to go ahead and let y'all guys know that if you're looking for men's apparel, look no further than Into the AM, who are the ones who I'm collaborating with on this video. And I got one of their shirts on right now. Sorry, you can probably see it like this. There you go. Which they got a lot of really cool graphic tees, and honestly, you can get them pretty cheap if you're ordering using my code. And so for my code, you're going to use 9 to 5 Gamers as your code, and you get a discount off of your order. So go ahead and check out Into the AM. Links in the description. And without further ado, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and in the comment section below, let me know what are some games that were almost perfect, like they were right there, but they're still really awesome games, but there was just like maybe one or two little things that you didn't enjoy about them that much that maybe let them a little lower than a 10. So without further ado, let's do this list. All right, my number 10, well, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and give out a, what do you call this? We're going to go ahead and do an honorable mention, and that is Comic Hunters. And the reason why it's an honorable mention is because I really like this game, and I would love for it to be in my top 10. I just know it's not available right now. But a little birdie told me today that it's actually going to be coming out in English. And then I heard something about maybe Dice Tower helping to make that happen or whatever. But here it is coming to North America, which is super awesome. Comic Hunters is amazing. That's why it is like my number 11. My number 10 is Terraforming Mars. And so I love Terraforming Mars. It's a fantastic game. The only thing that kept it from being perfect was just how long the game can take sometimes. And I know that if you buy the expansion, it takes away that time. And that is actually true. With the Prelude expansion, it makes the game a lot easier to get started, a lot more accessible. However, not everybody's willing to buy an expansion, right? I think some people think about that, like when it comes to video games, they're like, why would I want to buy DLC or some kind of season pass to make the game good? It should be good when I get it. I shouldn't have to buy extra stuff to make it good. That is a valid argument. Although I disagree with it, I think that this expansion, when a game comes out, sometimes, it's not like it's not like a game can get patched. You know what I mean? Video games get patches that help them become better. When you have a board game, you need expansions to try to make them better. And this one's really not expensive. You can get like that expansion for like maybe 10 to 15 bucks. It's not expensive at all. And it comes with a lot of really cool stuff that makes it really great. That's why it's my number 10 though. That's Terraforming Mars. Amazing, amazing game. I love it. It is a 9 out of 10 for me. My number 9 on the list is a game called Turing Machine. Turing Machine has become like my favorite solo game. But I will say this. The thing that keeps it from being a 10 out of 10 is that this is a game that I will almost always play exclusively solo, and also it's not for everyone. And that's because it is very much a deduction game. It feels very mathy, even though it's not necessarily full of like math equations and stuff like that. There's not a lot of math in it, but there are people who just won't approach it because of that, because of all the numbers it has. And it uses deduction. It's not necessarily math, but a lot of people feel like it's mathy. And I think that's one of the things that's maybe keeps it from being a perfect score for me. But man, that game is amazing. It almost feels like you're doing like a Sudoku kind of activity, but it's just like a brain teasery. There's conditions that the numbers have to meet, and if the conditions meet the right numbers, then you have this little device that is able to tell you if your answer is correct, and you line up these three. You try to guess like a 3-digit code, and it's really, really fun, man. Turing Machine is such an interesting game, and I love how mathematically they arranged everything to work out in such a way where you have these little Swiss cheese slices, and when you put them all together, it tells you if the answer is right or wrong. I think that's super cool. I really love Turing Machine. That is why it's my number 9, and it is a 9 out of 10. My number 8, Ticket to Ride Europe, the 15th Anniversary Edition. Mwah. Like, I love Ticket to Ride. I think Ticket to Ride is a fantastic game. But man, the 15th Anniversary Edition for the Europe version is amazing, man. That board is so pretty. So many people just gather around this game when you're playing it at like a convention or like at a board game night. People gather around and they're like, wow, this looks so good. Like the pieces are all like your train cars are all kind of like painted, and they have like different, like they have like wood and like steel and different things that they're transporting. But Ticket to Ride is such an easy and approachable game. But this 15th 15th Anniversary Europe is so good. It comes with all of the expansions in the box. Everybody gets their own little tin with their train cars in it. Oh man, this game is great, and I've just been loving playing this because I loved Ticket to Ride the original, but man, when I got this Anniversary Edition, it just heightened the game to a level where I've always felt like Ticket to Ride's been like somewhere between a 7 and an 8. But man, this really took it up to like the next level for me, and I think that it's a solid 9 out of 10. Ticket to Ride Europe. Only issue with the game is that it's Ticket to Ride, you know what I mean? Some people are just kind of sick of this game. I don't agree with that either when people play a game out and are like, you know what, this game is so played out. It's like, I mean, maybe you played it out because you play it a lot. It doesn't make it a bad game. That's why I don't like that mentality where it's like, Ticket to Ride is so basic. It's so gross. People do that with Catan a lot. I'm like, that doesn't stop them from being good games. Like, for example, Catan may be bad for you because you're tired of playing it, but for a lot of people, it's a good gateway game that gets people into the industry, and that's what we want. We want more board gamers to come out, and I think Ticket to Ride is perfect as a gateway game, but it's still fun to play even at this point in my life and in my collection of games, and as you could see later on in this list, I've got a lot more complex games coming up. But yeah, Ticket to Ride, amazing game, 9 out of 10. Stardew Valley is my number 7, and this is a hard game to get a hold of, man, and it could be pretty expensive if you buy it off of certain websites, but man, I love Stardew Valley, the board game. If you've ever played the video game, I'll put it like this. Stardew Valley is like a solid 8, I would say. It's obviously somewhere between like a 7 and an 8, but what takes it to a 9 for me is having played the video game. And being a fan of the video game, this is the perfect like cozy game. And it can get a little taxing towards the end because you're trying to meet all of these goals, but you can actually kind of just say, you know what, I'm not going to use these goal cards, I'm just going to do this. And just make it cozy and chill. And it takes a little while, like it can take a very long time if you play with 4 players and everybody's doing their stuff. But Stardew Valley, the board game, is solid, man. It has a pretty high score on BGG for a reason, and that's because it's fantastic. In this game, you just kind of like, everybody plays a role where they're like a fisher or a mine person. Was a miner? I don't want to say miner, but a gardener. There's other people that do different things, and you play your role and you go around the city and you do things trying to meet certain goals, and it's like a worker placement. But the cool thing about the worker placement is that you are allowed to take an action, move, and then take another action. And I think that's really cool the way the board is laid out. So it's like, hey, look, we need to do this. If you and I start on this space, we can trade like stuff, and then you can take this over this way. I think you can do that. Or maybe you can only trade during certain parts of the game, or I think if you have a certain item, you can. But it's really interesting, and you can take an action, move, take another action, or you could take the same action twice, and so you want to descend down into the mine and do different things. Like, this game is great, and it's beautiful, it's well put together, and the new additions of the game have a very good insert to keep everything in its place. I really love playing this game with my wife, and having played the video game is what brought me up to a 9. So Stardew Valley, the board game, 9 out of 10. My number 6 is Hadrian's Wall. Combos. I love Hadrian's Wall because it is a roll and write, but it is a massive roll and write. Like, these pads are about like this big, and you got 2 of those next to each other, and you're just hitting combos and doing different things. And I guess the goal of the game is that you're trying to build this wall up to be this big fortress and have all of these defenses, and you're doing all of these cool little things when you're checking off boxes, and then you gain workers, and you take those workers and you can place them in different places. It's such a cool concept of like a worker placement. It's got like little wooden components and resource gathering, but then it's also a what do you call it, a roll and write type game, like a flip and write. And it's such a good game, man. Hadrian's Wall, and it's great solo. Like, if you like solo games and you like to play it by yourself, maybe you don't like to play by yourself, but you have to play by yourself, Hadrian's Wall is a great solo game. I would put it right up there with Turing Machine, probably a little bit better in terms of how much I enjoy it. But Hadrian's Wall, probably the best roll and write I've played, to be honest. It's either between that and like Fleet the Dice game. Usually anything from Motor City Games is fantastic, as well as Twilight Inscription. Thought that was a really cool roll and write game. But I really enjoy that game, and I'm excited to get it to the table again. My number 5 is Massive Darkness 2. Massive Darkness 2 Hellscape is amazing. And so what this is a dungeon crawler game, but the cool part about it is that it's kind of like scenario based, so you can kind of set up different scenarios and go in there and try different scenarios. Like, you don't have to do it in any kind of linear thing. There is a story mode you can do, but honestly, just playing it as scenarios is cool because it's like you can whip out a scenario and play different ones. Got a lot of expansion materials made by CMON on amazing minis. The way that the game works is that it's got asymmetric player powers. Not player powers, but asymmetric characters. And so like each character plays like a mini game. So like for example, the rogue has like a bag, and she can like, you can go into the bag and pull out chips, and then those, it's like a bag builder. And then another person has like these arrow cards, and you can keep throwing out arrow cards as long as you're getting hits, and then whenever you feel like you've gotten too many misses, you can actually just stop, right? And it's like a push your luck game. So cool for like, I think that's for like the archer. Dude, every character is really cool. The paladin's going out and putting things out to like bless certain areas, and you get buffed and things like that. It's super cool. I really love Massive Darkness too. And then you roll a ton of dice, and I love games like that where you're just chucking a bunch of dice and having a good time. It's not complicated or super hard to learn. It's actually pretty easy to get into and very easy to get people to play and learn. Although, you know, when it comes to asymmetric things, sometimes that can be a little bit tricky. But for this one, I don't feel like it's actually that bad. And it's amazing dungeon crawler. And I think you're going to see a lot more dungeon crawlers on this list, or maybe just one more. No, two more. So let's go ahead and get into my number 4, which is Agonia. This game has climbed up the ranks super quick. It's not a 10 yet, and I think that's because I have it at a 9 because I believe Agonia, and I haven't done a review of this yet but this is, so take this with a grain of salt, because I guess I'm not done with the game yet, and so I can't necessarily give it this type of score. But from what I have played of the campaign, it is great. I love Agonia. They did so much work in this game, and it took a while for this game to come out, man. This game was literally, I think I ordered this in like 2021, maybe, and I just got it like this year, so it's been like 3 years in the making, man. And when we finally got a copy of it, man, it plays so well, and there was so much work that went into all the pieces, the way the pieces fit together. And you've got these boards that have like inserts that you can insert like these cardboard pieces, and they kind of like are raised above, and it's so nice, man. And I love the way everything works. It's got an app that provides ambient sound and things like that. It's super cool, immersive experience, really great dungeon crawler, and I love the way all of the different things work in this. There's so much to this game. I can't really talk too much about it. I'm trying to keep the video on the shorter end, but Agonia is fantastic. If you ever see a copy of this, I don't know if you ever will, it's a really cool dungeon crawler, man. I very much enjoyed my experience so far. So far, it's a 9 out of 10. Could go lower, could go higher. We don't know. We'll see after the campaign is over, but I'll let you guys know about that, and I'll do a review of on my channel of this game. Number 3 on my list is Planet Unknown. I absolutely fell in love with this game at Dice Tower, that I was able to play it, and I was able to play it at Dice Tower. And not only that, as soon as I played it, the campaign for Planet Unknown was up and for like a second print, and I went ahead and ordered it. I was like, I just want everything. Give me the Supermoon expansion. Give me everything, because I just think this game was so well made. It's a polyomino game. Think Isle of Cats, or Project L, or any of these other polyomino games that you've ever seen. It's like that, but it's a big planet. And on this planet, you're placing polyomino pieces to try to go up on different tracks. It's got 4 different tracks you can go up on, or 5, and it's just beautiful, man. Like, this game was so well orchestrated. It comes with a Lazy Susan little circle thing tray that holds all of the pieces, and then when it's your turn, you're the first player, you rotate it till you find a piece that you want. Then you could take that piece and you can flip it upside down, do whatever you want to do with it to manipulate it. But wherever you stop the Lazy Susan, where the pieces that line up across from the players is where they have to grab from. So on every person's turn, you are getting a piece, and you're filling in this grid and doing combos and different things like that. It's such an interesting game. I loved Planet Unknown. It's fantastic. 9 out of 10 for me. Honestly, the more that I play it, I might even go up to a 10, but right now it's at a 9. It's not an 8 for sure, because I think it's such a good game, but I really love Planet Unknown. My number 2, and this is a game that's not perfect score, but it's just about there, and it's one of the highest rated games on BGG of all time, and that's Gloomhaven. And this is big boy Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion, Frosthaven. You can just put them all in here. I always have them at like a 9, and the reason I have them at a 9 is just because it is a campaign game. You need to have a crew that you roll with when you do this game, and it has to be the same people. It has to be consistent. And if you're not, then you're just not going to play it, and it's just going to collect dust, and it's such a big box, but it's such a good game. And the consistency, I think, is more of the issue. I don't think it's the game's fault, but there are some other things with the game, like the app. That was such an, like, for me, I think this game needs an app for tracking, like, stats and stuff. You can do it with, like, the little bits and the pieces, but I just feel like the app was such a good thing. And I remember that I deleted the app on accident from my iPad, and then when I went back to go download it, it was taken off. And I know there was this old drama over that. I know that some people told me that the app is back, that you download a Frosthaven app and it has all of the stuff in there. But yeah, that's what made the game so playable. And I ended up stop playing it because I didn't have the app. And then they released the app, but now me and my team have gone on from Gloomhaven, and we're on Splendid Vale and working on Agonia as well. So Gloomhaven is just kind of sunk, but it's such a good game. It's so solid. I think that this is probably one of the best dungeon crawlers you can get into if you're first trying to get into a dungeon crawler. Try Jaws of the Lion. It kind of walks you through the whole process. It's not a super long campaign. It's not 100 missions. It's just 25, I think. It's like a quarter of the length. But Gloomhaven is fantastic. 9 out of 10. I love Gloomhaven. I love the card system with the 2 cards, top and bottom, and then you pick which action you want to use, and then some of them deplete the card and you have to get it out of your hand. You can't use it anymore for the rest of that round. It's very interesting and very not complicated, but complex in the way that you have to play these cards out, and then evolving your character, leveling them up, getting new skills and things. It's super awesome. Great campaign, great story, great apps, and everything. It's super good. And my number one game that's a 9 out of 10 is Blood Rage. I love Blood Rage. Between Kemet and Blood Rage, I do like Kemet a little bit more. And some people were in the comments of that last video I posted, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, you don't have Blood Rage in your top 10 for 10 out of 10 games." And I'm like, "You're right." And that's because Blood Rage is a 9 out of 10. And the reason why is because Blood Rage is a game where it's an area control game. You want to play with a full group of people, like 3 or 4. I think 4 is much better. I love Blood Rage at 4, and then they have an expansion to add a 5th player. The more people you have in this game, the better it gets, because you're just all in each other's zones. And then there's people who, they put their troops out and they just keep dying every 5 seconds, and you're like, dang, this guy's getting destroyed. But then they have this combo where it's like every time my people die and they go to Valhalla, I get points every time I retrieve them from Valhalla, so I can build that way, even though I'm not taking any leads or anything. But man, leveling up your warriors, the cards, it's a drafting game, area control drafting. What a great combo, by the way. I absolutely love Blood Rage. It is super good. With the 5th player expansion, it's even better. They had other expansions that add monsters and different things like that. It is not an easy game to get a hold of. I think it's easier to get a hold of just Blood Rage, but to get hold of the expansions is not easy. I know that for a fact. I've only been able to find the 5th player expansion out there. But maybe in the area you live in, you have probably a nice game store where they have all of this stuff available. I'm not sure if it's on Amazon. I haven't really checked. But yeah, man, I really like Blood Rage, man. I love the area control. I love the card drafting. I love the gameplay. I love the player mats with all of the different abilities and keeping track of like the 3 different things that you need to keep track of, and that dictates how many people you can put out on the board, which please pay attention to that, because that's probably the number one thing that people forget, is that you have a troop limit of how many you can actually have on the board. And sometimes you're just like, oh, I'm going to put another one out. You can't. It's like, oh my gosh, just ruined my whole plan. Amazing game. I love Blood Rage, and I will just always love this game. It's not a 10 out of 10. That's because Kemet is a 10 out of 10, but Blood Rage is definitely a 9 out of 10. So it did make my short list when it came to like perfect games. So it's almost perfect. I love Blood Rage. Honestly, I'd say it's probably a 9.5. It's up there. So, but anyways, thank you guys for tuning into this video. So in the comments, man, let me know, what are your favorite games that are almost perfect, didn't quite make it, but they are just fantastic games that you absolutely love. Like, it's like, this is like if you had your like top 20, this would be like your 20 to 11. Let me know some of those games that I should try out. What are some games you think will make this list? For me, I know in the last list, a lot of people started giving me recommendations like Food Chain Magnet and a whole bunch of other great games to try out. Definitely want to get my hands on those. They're very expensive. Food Chain Magnet is super expensive. I saw it on BGG. Somebody was selling it with the expansion for like 125. I was like, that's actually not bad. But yeah, man, that's it for this video, man. Let me know what other games I should try out. Take care. See you guys later, and peace out.